Opening the door, Karen didn't even bother to speak. She simply nodded to her security guard, and he, without hesitation, shoved me in the chest. I stumbled and collapsed onto the sofa, unable to believe what was happening. A second later, heavy footsteps echoed in the hallway. Two movers entered the house and began grabbing my things: the television, boxes, the laptop, even family photos. "Hey, what are you doing?" I jumped up, but Karen was already standing next to me, coldly looking down at me.
You've gone too far.
She hissed with such disdain, as if she were talking to an insect. "What the hell? This is my house."
Shut up.
She roared so loudly that even the movers froze.
What don't you understand, you idiot? You thought your HOA problems would just disappear? You violated everything you possibly could, and now you'll have to pay. You owe me, and not 1,000, not 2. You owe us everything.
I couldn't believe my ears. My life was collapsing before my eyes. But let's start from the beginning. I moved to this neighborhood 3 years ago, full of hope and determination to start a new chapter in my life. I had to save for a long time, putting aside every spare penny to one day afford my own house. And then, the day came when the dream became a reality. I bought a plot of land that I had been eyeing for a long time. It was located in a quiet suburb, surrounded by tall trees, with a piece of land that seemed like a real refuge from the hustle and bustle. When I met with the real estate lawyer, he informed me of an important detail. The driveway leading to several neighboring houses formally fell within the boundaries of my property. I simply nodded, not attaching much importance to it. At that moment, all I was thinking about was the silence, the space, and the opportunity to finally breathe freely. The move was not easy, but in the first few months, I enthusiastically put the house in order. I cleared out old buildings, replaced the wiring, reinforced the foundation, and painted the walls. I wanted this house to be a reflection of myself, solid, cozy, and independent. However, it soon became clear that things would not be as peaceful as I had hoped. A neighbor named Karen, a middle-aged woman, an employee of the local HOA, began visiting me almost from the first weeks. Her gaze always held a contemptuous wariness, as if she knew in advance that I would break the rules. At first, I treated her remarks with understanding. Karen demanded that I repaint the fence in the approved color, remove the swing set for my nephew, take down the decorative lanterns, and replant the bushes, allegedly protruding beyond the lawn symmetry lines. I complied with her demands, hoping to avoid conflicts. I was new to the neighborhood, and I wanted to fit in. But the more time passed, the more absurd her claims became. Once, she showed up with a ruler to measure the height of the grass. Another time, she threatened a fine for an excessively bright tablecloth on the outdoor table. I began to understand. It wasn't about the rules, it was about Karen. From that moment on, I stopped obeying. I stopped opening the door for her. I stopped responding to her complaints, threats, and warnings. But on a sunny spring day, as I was enjoying my morning coffee on the porch of my house, my peace was rudely interrupted by a sharp knock on the door. Opening it, I was faced with Karen, the chairwoman of our HOA, and her constant companion, a board member, Mr. Roberts. Karen, clutching a thick folder of documents in her hands, looked as if she was about to explode with indignation.
Finally, you deigned to open the door.
She hissed through her teeth, her eyes flashing lightning.
We need to discuss your numerous violations.
I invited them in, trying to remain calm, although I already sensed a storm brewing. "What other violations, Karen?" I asked, trying not to succumb to her provocations.
Don't play innocent.
She exploded.
These ugly garden gnomes that you've scattered all over your yard violate the aesthetics of our neighborhood.
I glanced at my gnomes standing in the garden. "Karen, they're just harmless decorations."
Harmless?
Her voice rose.
They offend the sense of taste of every decent person in this community.
Mr. Roberts coughed, handing Karen the folder. She pulled out several photos of my yard.
Besides, this bird feeder attracts rats and other pests. Do you want the whole neighborhood to suffer because of your irresponsibility?
A bird feeder? Seriously? I couldn't believe my ears.
And also,
Karen continued, ignoring me,
Your lawnmower is too noisy. You're disturbing the peace of the neighbors.
Karen, I use it during the day when most people are at work.
That's no excuse.
She snapped.
Here's an official notice of a $75,000 fine for all your violations.
I took the document, stunned by the absurdity of the situation. $75,000? That's ridiculous,
If you don't pay on time, the amount will double.
she added with a venomous smile.
So, I advise you not to delay.
They left, leaving me in a state of shock and anger. I understood that Karen had crossed all boundaries, and I decided to give her a worthy response. Remembering that the road leading to our neighborhood partially ran through my property, I decided to take advantage of this. I installed a barrier and a toll booth and hung a sign, "Toll road minus $15." Many home members initially did not want to pay for entry, but the detour was dozens of miles away, so they returned and paid. Soon, Karen herself appeared. She braked sharply in front of the barrier and jumped out of the car, seething with rage.
What the hell is going on here?
She shouted, running up to me. "Karen, welcome to my private road," I replied calmly. "The toll is $15.
You can't do this. It's illegal.
Actually, I can. Here are the documents confirming my rights to this land." She snatched the papers from my hands, quickly scanned them, and realizing I was right, crumpled them up.
This is outrageous.
She growled.
You'll regret this.
Karen drove away, leaving me with a sense of satisfaction. However, the next day, local news headlines were full of stories about how I had blocked the road for my neighbors. Karen had clearly tried to portray me in the worst possible light. Soon, police officers appeared on my doorstep.
We've received complaints about the illegal blocking of the road.
Police officer said. I handed them the property documents. "According to these papers, I have every right to control access to this road." The officer studied the documents and nodded.
I understand. But perhaps it's worth finding a compromise with the HOA to avoid further conflicts.
"I'm ready for dialogue if the HOA revises its absurd fines," I replied. But in the meantime, Karen wasn't giving up. She hired a team of lawyers and sued me, claiming my barrier was a public nuisance. I countersued for $193,000 for unauthorized use of my driveway. The court hearing was tense. Karen was aggressive, interrupting the judge and my lawyers, calling me a petty tyrant and a greedy egotist. Her behavior even baffled her own lawyers. After a hearing, the judge found Karen's claims to be false, and my claim was appealed to $103,000. Karen was turned over to the authorities for further proceedings. The HOA recalculated my fine, and Karen was suspended.